Today, we're going to talk about a topic that doesn't always get the attention it deserves, but is absolutely crucial to our future, our farms, our farmers, and our food supply. Let me start with two striking numbers. In 1935, America had 6.8 million farms. In 2023, that number dropped to just 1.89 million farms. This is not just a number, it's a significant shift in how we feed ourselves. So, what happened? What does this mean for our future food security? And most importantly, how can we prepare ourselves for the challenges ahead?
Historical context.
In 1935, during the Great Depression, farming was still largely small-scale, family-run, and labor-intensive. Many families grew their own food and supplied local communities. Today, with fewer than 2 million farms left, much of our food production has shifted toward massive, industrial-scale farms. Technology and consolidation have increased efficiency, yes, but they have also concentrated our food supply into the hands of fewer producers. This trend has made our food system more vulnerable to disruptions, whether due to economic conditions, climate change, or geopolitical tensions. According to author and food security expert Joel Salatin, who wrote, "Folks, this ain't normal." The industrialization of agriculture has created a fragile system that may not withstand serious crises.
Key points of concern.
Let's break down the major factors contributing to this decline and how it affects all of us.
Farm consolidation and corporate agriculture.
Large corporations now dominate much of the American farming landscape. Small, family-run farms are either being bought out or forced out due to economic pressures. With fewer independent farms, we have fewer localized food sources. This creates a problem because we rely heavily on a small number of large farms to produce the bulk of our food. When there's a problem in one area, whether due to natural disasters, disease, or supply chain issues, the entire system can be affected. In his book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, Michael Pollan points out how this shift has made our food supply more vulnerable and less resilient.
Aging farmer population.
The average age of a U.S. farmer today is around 58 years old, with many nearing retirement. Younger generations are not entering farming at the rate needed to replace them. Without younger farmers, we face a potential crisis in the future when those remaining few retire. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has been sounding the alarm for years about the lack of young farmers stepping up to maintain food production.
Environmental challenges.
The change in climate is exacerbating difficulties for farmers, with extreme weather events becoming more frequent and severe. Droughts, floods, and unpredictable seasons have made farming more challenging than ever. For example, the drought in California has had a devastating impact on fruit and vegetable crops. Less food production means higher prices and less availability at your local grocery store.
Land loss.
Prime agricultural land is disappearing. Urban sprawl, infrastructure development, and land degradation have led to the loss of millions of acres of farmland. According to the American Farmland Trust, we lose more than 2,000 acres of farmland every day to development. This reduces our ability to produce enough food for an ever-growing population.
Supply chain vulnerabilities.
The pandemic of 2020 showed us how fragile our food supply chain really is. With fewer farms and a more centralized food system, we saw empty grocery shelves for the first time in many people's lives. A complex and global supply chain meant that disruptions in one part of the world affected what we could buy in our local stores.
A real-life wake-up call.
Remember the 2021 meat shortage? One of the largest meatpacking companies was hit by a cyber attack, and within days, grocery stores were struggling to keep meat on the shelves. When one large company controls a huge portion of the market, a disruption to their operations can ripple through the entire food supply. According to Wendell Berry, a farmer and author of The Unsettling of America, our move away from local food production has placed us in a precarious situation. Barry writes, "The most critical thing we have lost is not the food itself, but our knowledge and ability to grow it." With the global population expected to reach 9.8 billion by 2050, the demand for food will only increase. Yet we're moving in the opposite direction, losing farmers, reducing our food production capacity, and relying more on external sources. As preppers, you know what this means. We are facing a potential food shortage crisis on a scale we've never seen before. Michael Pollan, in his book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, points out, "The way we eat represents our most profound engagement with the natural world. What happens when we no longer control that engagement? When we've outsourced the most basic human need, our food, to distant suppliers."
Practical steps to prepare.
Now let's talk about what we can do to protect ourselves and our communities without sounding alarmist or sensational. We don't need to panic, but we do need to prepare.
Support local farmers.
Whenever possible, buy from local farmers markets or directly from local farms. This helps keep small farms in business and reduces your dependence on industrial agriculture. Look for community-supported agriculture, CSA programs, where you can subscribe to receive fresh produce from local farms on a regular basis.
Start a home garden.
Even a small garden can make a difference. Growing your own fruits, vegetables, and herbs can help reduce your dependence on the grocery store. It's also a great way to learn valuable skills. As many preppers will tell you, food self-sufficiency can provide peace of mind. Books like The Backyard Homestead by Carleen Madigan offer practical tips for beginners on how to get started with limited space.
Stockpile wisely.
Building a reasonable stockpile of non-perishable foods, such as canned goods, grains, and dry beans, can help you weather short-term disruptions. The key is to stockpile foods you already eat and rotate them to prevent waste. You don't need to hoard, but having a few months' worth of food on hand can provide a buffer in case of supply chain problems.
Learn preservation skills.
Canning, drying, and freezing foods are great ways to extend the shelf life of what you grow or buy locally. This is a skill our grandparents used to survive difficult times. Learning how to preserve food can save you money and ensure you have a supply of nutritious food, even when fresh produce is not available. Books like Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving offer step-by-step guides.
Diversify your food sources.
Don't rely on just one type of food or one source. Stock up on a variety of grains, proteins, and canned goods. Diversifying your diet ensures that if one particular food becomes unavailable or unaffordable, you still have alternatives.
Learn from history.
Finally, take lessons from those who lived through tough times. In books like The Worst Hard Time by Timothy Egan, which chronicles the Dust Bowl era, we learn how people adapted to severe food shortages and environmental disasters. The past can teach us resilience. So as we have seen, the decline of American farms and the rise of industrial agriculture present challenges that we must be prepared to face. But rather than panic, we can take practical steps to ensure that we're resilient in the face of future disruptions. By supporting local agriculture, growing our own food, and building food security at the individual and community level, we can safeguard our future. Let's take action today, not out of fear, but out of responsibility for ourselves, our families, and our communities. As Wendell Berry wisely said, eating is an agricultural act. Every choice we make matters, from the food we buy to the food we grow. Talking about food, have you ever wondered how ancient prepper skills can help us prepare? Check out this video.